Alok Mehta, there has been an election in between. Now, are we saying that the government of the day is running in such continuity that what happened in the election, the discourse, the impact and the feedback is going to be irrelevant today?
I think, Rishabhji, certainly the Prime Minister Narendra Modi must be reviewing. We can't say today what he's going to do. But the education policy, I start with this, Mr. Sudhakar rightly mentioned. 3 years back, I think 2020, we already have the new education policy. But it's still, now it's implementing, but it will take time. And this is unfortunate that they don't have a very good team. I still feel we need better team in the politics. We need better team in the administration. Or people who are working in even the companies also. You see, and you are very rightly said, all the degrees, that's why the education policy, they are changing. In agriculture also, we want more modernization. What is happening, just we give you 10,000 rupees or 12,000 rupees, still some people voted for the BJP and Prime Minister Narendra Modi because the benefit we give, but we can't compare with China. Sorry to say, we have to compete with China, United States, European countries, Asian countries. But the dictatorship in China, it is very easy. You see the highways. Yesterday also people on in the major news channel, in business channel, they said, okay, where is the bullet train? But you see how difficult to get the land. Even in Delhi itself, you see from Sarai Kaleka to other places, the flyover taking 10 years. It started one route. So this kind of problem also in India. So for the farmers, very rightly said, the new law is very, very good. So now sometime he has to take very drastic changes and ruthlessly. That's why sometimes people criticize it like a dictator. No, but when you have to give the results, I think for health sector, for education, the most priority should be in agriculture, health and education, because ultimately it will give for the benefit for the next 10 years or 30 years or 50 years. Because what we are giving lesser, we want everything health mission, but for research, just for infrastructure, for the job. But even then, the Ayushman Bharat scheme or this kind of schemes are benefiting the poor people.
Okay.
But we have to see the whole society.
Okay.
So I think they will do something. We expect.
Okay.
One last point.
Yes, please.
About this, about the people who earn for women, but if they have some deposit, fixed deposit, everybody, but like a me or other person who feel that whatever earned in the life I will spend. But you see, again they will get the income tax and some charges. So how difficult for the poor people and the middle class people, the women especially. For women empowerment, you need more benefit for the middle class woman also, working class woman also.
Okay, but then the question is what benefits? Because we've seen Karnataka say, okay, we're going to give free bus travel to all women. They've implemented the scheme. It's an opposition rule state under the Congress party. Then about 6 to 8 months later, they say we need to increase bus fares for everybody else because obviously you have to borrow from Peter to pay Paul. That's how economics works. Government is dependent on money received from the people. But Sumit P, let me ask you the question. So now we know that the BJP has done, and on election result day, you and I were discussing this, that the difference between 272 and 240 was Uttar Pradesh. Okay. They've done the feedback of what happened in Uttar Pradesh. You got feedback that yes, in Ayodhya, there was discontent about the demolition works carried out in order to do the upgrades of the roads and infrastructure for the temple. There was discontent. You've been told that there were women now who are gathering outside Congress headquarters in various states asking for their 8,500 rupees. So there were people who bought into that. So there is feedback. One of the feedback is that there was discontent even in officialdom because you're doing lateral entry of experts and officialdom has a problem with that and they are unhappy with that kind of reform. So there are political challenges. Can they simply be ignored?
Rishabhji, the matter of the fact remains political challenges cannot be ignored because what we have seen in election is a kind of awakening. Look, there was also one discontent there because usually the common man on the ground, the people like middle class people like us who talk about At the lower class, you have given Ujjwala, Prajwala, Ayushman, Bharat, Makan diya, sab kuch diya. While a section of the people never voted for you. That's besides the point. That is not the discussion today. On the upper side of the paradigm, you are creating those multi-billion-dollar infrastructure projects where they're getting their money from. But the class in between, which runs the India, is the middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class. So if we look at this bigger middle class as such, we are only getting nothing out of it practically. You see, if you look at the tax slabs, if you look at the standard deduction, the people are asking middle class ko kya mila? From the lower class, you've done a lot. For the upper class, you've created multi-billion-dollar opportunities, and there are these major shadis which are happening, 10,000 crores. I mean, but what is happening for the middle class? What you rightly said, Rishabh, we pay an income tax, then we pay a GST, then we put a fixed deposit, then we again get taxed on that. Now, even for the insurance of my parents, right? I had to pay around 24,000 rupees as a GST. You know, my parents are senior citizens. For their insurance, I'm paying 24,000 just as a GST for getting their insurance done. I mean, there are the things where we are squeezed from all the sides where we expect relief. Our incomes are finite. We don't have infinite incomes. We are not going to get exponentially rich, or neither are we going to get exponentially poor. But how do you increase the spending vis-a-vis middle class family? What is happening to the middle class taxpayer who is paying taxes all his life? What are the national securities? What he or she can expect at 72, maybe at 75? These are the things which need to be contemplated. For example, why do we have, in GST on the health insurance of senior citizens? And at that age, that the premiums are quite high. Then if you put on GST on it, it becomes a substantial cost. These are some of the things at least we are looking for the government to take care of us. My last point is, I would expect the standard deduction to be taken out to around 10 or 12 lakhs, because aajkal, Rishabh, you need around 80,000 se 1 lakh rupees to run a house in any state.
In an urban city, absolutely right.
1 lakh to chahiye na, 80,000 se 1 lakh. So why should we be even taxed on that? And last point is, if you look at the tax net, now I was one of the day Honorable Prime Minister said, still there are only 10 lakh people who have declared income of more than 1 crore, and there is no house anywhere in India today in urban pocket which costs less than 1 crore. This is also a paradigm we live with. Ye bhi vastavikta hai.
Yes, I mean, but that is inevitable. And if you argue that yes, a large percentage, 50, 60, 70% of the economy is still in the irregular sector, yes, it would be. But Sanjay Katuria, let me bring in the conversation and pick up on that note. So where is the themology then? Because is this then an incremental budget? Because GST changes not going to happen here. Reform initiatives not going to happen here. This is not the day for it. This is not the podium for it. So what is the budget going to tell us today?
See, if we have to look at the budgets, how the budget will pan out. So first we need to understand where we are vis-a-vis where we should be. So I feel there are four major sectors: education, healthcare, defense, and infrastructure. So if you look at education in India into 23-24, government has spent around about 1,12,000 crores, which is 2.5% of their budgetary outlay, against USA, which has spent around about 6%, which is a larger base and a larger percentage. So India needs to cover this. And I heard one of the panelists saying that the NEET exams were not done well, and somehow the government has not completely failed miserably on, assuring students that their meritorious hard work will be rewarded. Second is healthcare. I think healthcare also, if you look at India, it's spending only 2.1% of its total budget, vis-a-vis US, which is at 18%. So there's a massive gap of 9 times on a larger base, which, the government needs to focus on. Defense, I think, is at par with US. It's 13% in India and 15% in US. And on infrastructure, we are far better than US, because US doesn't need to develop that kind of infrastructure right now. It's already done. So if you look at India's budgetary outlay, more focus should be laid out on education and healthcare. And, I've heard almost everyone speak about skilling, upskilling, reskilling. I think that is the biggest need of the hour. And the problem is that is happening in isolation without industry. So till the time the industry doesn't come in, till the time Wing Commander Sudhakaran doesn't tell people that, bhai, mere ko engineer aisa chahiye, this is the persona of the engineer, this is somebody whom I need, these are the top 10 skills which I need. I've interviewed a lot of engineers, and they don't understand basic data. MBA students, they don't know how to work on Excel. So I think it's a very big need of the hour that people needs to be reskilled. So I think the budget will focus on these major parameters. And we saw the first decision which PM took was signing the Kisan Nidhi, 20,000 crore, payout to the farmers.
Yes.
You could see a lot of outlay on that side also. So I think
Okay.
we should not
So
be.
the, no.
I
So the
personally
out.
am not very
Yeah.
gung ho about this budget
Okay. Yeah.
on for middle class and myself. I think the more focus would be again, building the entire thing on housing for poor, housing, all those schemes. So the money would be flowing to the schemes, not to
Okay,
us.
so
Rather,
then, yeah,
we
so
will just
then,
be
all
one
right.
of
So
the
there are
same cash
there are
flow.
many ways of looking at this. One is the way which I've just portrayed, that an election has happened and messages have come from the people, and the messages have come that, yeah, no, actually, you know what, we are troubled about a few things, at least in one of the most populous states in the country. Whether that might be political trouble or it might be economic trouble, we'll find out. And the other way of looking at it is that here you have the opportunity for the first time in my lifetime, okay, that a prime minister is returning for the third time at a go. We don't know how many more times he's going to contest to be prime minister again. So now there are 5 years left, maybe 10 years left, certainly not more than that. And this is the time to go for broke. So then let me get a perspective which will be a different perspective from this, not from a politician, not from a person politically involved. General Asthana, is there a window of opportunity for Narendra Modi to just go for broke? And if so, what does that mean?
There are a lot of opportunities in every field. In fact, let me just highlight the defense part of it. Let me just put it this way, so that because that is also one of the segment we didn't speak so far. We seem to be doing well as far as the Atmanirbhar Bharat is concerned. Defense manufacturing is has done wonders in USA. There's no reason why we should not. It should not be doing wonders in India. And I think in terms of percentage, we have done fairly well. 21,000, more than 21,000 crores of defense exports is a good landmark to start with. And we are expecting it to be 50,000 crores by 2030. So all this, what is coming about, and defense corridors and a whole lot of other initiatives in terms of collaborations and GOCO models and all other models which we talk about as far as the defense manufacturing is concerned. So defense manufacturing, for the first time, we have started looking as a industry and a profitable industry, and the tag of being the largest importer of the defense equipment was not a very good tag. And perhaps now we are trying to rectify it. We are still the largest importer,
Okay.
but certainly we are trying to rectify that.
Okay, but let's bell the cat, General Asthana. Let's bell the cat, because you
Yeah.
know exactly, you've been part of the conversations. You have been part of the conversation right here with us. When you do reform, especially in sensitive places with farmers, with Jawans, you are struggling. The government is struggling to convince people, especially those who aspire, many second generation, third generation, to aspire to sign up, not the commissioned officers, the people who aspire to sign up to be the fighting force of the Indian Army, to convince them that, listen, you sign up for a few years and take a lump sum. That reform is running into a lot of difficulty.
Yes, that reform is running into a lot of difficulties because, again, when the reform came, at that point of time, apparently, the stakeholders were not taken into account in some manner, or were not taken into confidence in some manner. Now, every policy, as you rightly mentioned, every policy, if you make, and every major change which you make, it has some pros and it has some cons. Now, the question is, how do you manage the pros and reduce the impact of the cons? Perhaps there was a major, shall I say, there were a lot of things which were required. Now, as far as this reforms are concerned, let me put it this way very clearly. Somehow, I think there was a general impression given that you do not require that kind of manpower. We didn't recruit about 1 lakh people in COVID. We are short by 1 lakh. We are short by 10,000 officers, and we didn't do very much to build it up as well. And we started off with this scheme of the Agniveer, where there are certain improvements which are required. Certainly, the retention percentage is one of them, and there are many more
Okay.
which are required and
Okay.
which are in the
Yeah,
pipeline.
but
I'm
we are
sure
getting an
government is
understanding
open to
that
it.
doing reform, which has some logic behind it, is not easy to do because entire country, people's families, people's lives, they are familiar with a certain set of weight. You know, you just change the format of the NEET exam, trust me, there'll be furor even then. Because somebody who's been preparing since class 9 for a particular kind of NEET exam, next year you say, no, this is being reformed, it might be an improvement. But that person has spent 5 years of their lives preparing for one kind of thing, and now you're offering them some other kind of thing, they get upset. So let me get Wing Commander Sudhakaran into this. Wing Commander Sudhakaran, there are logics to Agniveer. You want to reduce the average age of your fighting force. You want to create a system where people are coming out after having spent 4-5 years training with the armed forces, getting a lump sum, and then continuing with their lives, that contributes to a trained reserve in your country. There are many reasons to think that way as well. But at the same time, it's been difficult. Let's not kid ourselves. I can tell you that the government has registered that there is blowback. A lot of internal meetings have happened in the past 2 months after the elections.
See, it's the dance of the invisible hand that is behind this. The European Disinformation Lab just now brought out a report which said that there were invisible hands at play in the Indian elections. This Agniveer thing is exactly the repetition of what happened to the farm law. I again maintain BJP is a disaster at perception and Congress is a master at deception. The Agniveer fiasco that has happened, it has happened because BJP has not been able to put the right facts in the public domain. And whatever facts come in the domain, it has got twisted, turned and distorted to the extent that people are confused. They don't know the difference between right and wrong. That is why I continue to maintain that unless and until you don't take hold of the information narrative, which means unless and until you don't shape the social media narrative, bring it correctly, unless and until you don't have a national truth validation framework. I have submitted this to the highest in the government last 4 years. They have not been able to take a decision. The government accused the previous regime of policy paralysis. Let me tell you, there are equal policy paralysis here also when it comes to taking very stringent. You said Modi has to go for the broke. He has to go for the broke. He has to take some strong decisions. The problem is that we all have only one person to go to. The powers are not delegated to the extent that decision making is free. And the people who have the power to make decisions, they are just simply not making it. That is point number one. Second is, we need to understand that, you are not, by saying that I will become the third largest economy in the world, you are not going to do anything great because India is destined for that place. The problem here is that you are competing with US, which is a 20 to 23 trillion economy today, and China, which is a 16 to 17 trillion. Your aim is to triple your economy from 5 trillion mark to 15 trillion. It cannot happen by simply linearly increasing the per capita income of every Indian.
Yes.
You need at least 4 to 5 trillion-dollar entities like an Apple, an Nvidia, a Tesla, Amazon, a Microsoft, a Baidu, a Alibaba, a Tencent.
But we hate them.
Go on and on and on.
No, but we hate them. So let's just mix up the perspectives, because when we talk about this, what's the blowback? And you had election blowback, and it's not abnormal. So let me get Vinod Rawal into this. Vinod Rawal, now somebody made a reference to a very expensive wedding that has been recently concluded. Okay, thousands of crores spent. Watches, 2 crore watches being distributed. It's a show of wealth. So as all Indians, we don't like a show of wealth. We are all in love with Elon Musk, with Jeff Bezos, and we aspire to them. Bill Gates, what a guy. We all want to be like him. But when we are creating that kind of wealth in India, we don't like it. We don't like these rich guys. So how do we create trillion-dollar firms in this country?
Actually, we live in a dilemma, honestly, Rishabh. the first thing which we have been taught that money is a bad thing, but everybody wants to make money. So whenever the person is having a money, why he will not like to spend? Why he's making money for himself? His family needs it. He has to, it is, you can call it a show business, but he has done his thing. Everybody does this. There is nothing special in this hosting this kind of wedding. I'm not against it. This is the thing. And moreover, on one side you are saying that the money has to be spent in the public perception. That money comes back in the shape of taxes and all that. So when that money is being spent, what is wrong in it? There is nothing wrong. Now coming to the other part of your question, that why we don't have these kinds of this Sumit was saying that that Apple, Nvidia, why we don't have these kinds of companies? Sir, we have to create an atmosphere for them. In this budget, we have to incentivize them. We have to give a real ease of doing business. Can we create a company in this country in 30 days? For simple allotment of a pen, it takes more than 15 days. Person wants to pay tax, it should be automatic on the screen. There is no problem at all. He's asking for a number only. And we verify so many things. How much time we take in allotment of a GST registration? We have to create this atmosphere. We have to give the simple processes for that. We have to simplify the processes. And for that, we are expecting this budget to come out with these kinds of simplifications, a tax structure simplification, so that these kinds of all entities can come up.
Okay.
Why 5,000 people in last year have renunciation their citizenship for this country? Why they are adopting the other one? How Dubai is coming up so fast? China is an old story. It's a 25 years back. Dubai is a new story. It is happening now in front of you.
Yes.
We have to take care of that. We have to create an atmosphere for the business, not criticizing every time for all these kinds of extravaganzas and all that. We have to do the things. We have to provide a social security for the people who has given his whole life paying taxes.
Okay.
Let it be an income tax, let it be a custom duty, let it be excise duty or a GST.
Okay.
He's paying taxes throughout his life.
Okay.
80% of his money goes back into taxes.
Yes.
You call it a social security matters?
No, but you know, the one reason this budget is a bit different than the budgets that come out in February is because all of us, as we speak, are paying our taxes. All of us. Okay. I'm pretty much sure everybody sitting on the panel with me, all of us are computing our taxes, paying advance tax, filing our returns. So, yes, I have to go back home today and I have to sit with my father and make allowances for the advance tax to be paid. And yes, I have to now suddenly compute that yes, this money which was lying is actually not in my bank account. I have to give it to the government. So, yes, this has to happen today. So, it's fundamentally different. But there is a political economy to this. So, let me bring Alok Mehta back into this conversation. Alok Mehta, for Narendra Modi as third-time Prime Minister, there is a legacy for him to leave behind for this country. How much room does he have to look at the larger picture still?
I think he has a room, but what he yesterday spoke about it, he needs support from everybody for democracy for the country. Even if Rahul Gandhi thinks that he can come in power in the next 2 years and Akhilesh Yadav and both they call it. But you see the non-cooperation and the reforms, what Manmohan Singh started. Manmohan Singh also suffered a lot. But even then, what we are feeling, that because we are only the one Prime Minister, what he wants to do from his own party, from a coalition, but more support we need in the society. What is happening? Because all the time, they are just condemning and they want to come in power. I think the more tragedy in the political economy is because Dulhan badi pyari, choke mat aana. Matlab, you can't come in the kitchen. You are very lovable. So what Rahul Gandhi and the Congress party, other parties, they want money, they want power, but they don't want how the money will come. Because they oppose Ambani, Adani and everybody,
No, they don't. They don't. All minus Rahul Gandhi, everybody was there for the wedding. So let's not kid ourselves anymore.
No, not only the wedding, but I'm talking about because what kind of people perception? Because certainly there was a campaign against India itself, what I feel, because not only the Prime Minister, because they don't want a stable government. They wanted that they should depend on us, including their own people in the BJP are supporting people BJP because they think that he should depend on us. That is
Okay,
the
all
tragedy
right,
of
all
our
right. Let me
country.
quickly ask you on the other side of the political economy, because let's not kid ourselves. This is a different government. This is a government that has now allies. We also know that those allies need one thing. They might not even want political power at the center, but they want cash. Okay? Alok Mehta, Nitish Kumar, his priority is cash. You know for sure Chandrababu Naidu, he has a big city, a new capital to build. His priority is cash. So do we just assume that that's going to happen? Obviously, that's going to happen.
Not the package, at least they will give some more benefit for this new city, Amravati and all, because these kind of, earlier also he started this campaign and he wanted to give the states, but the implementation, we need a leadership in states who implement and spend without any corruption, a large scale corruption. What happened in Bihar? The people were getting, and the roads were better. That's why the Nitish Kumar and the BJP at least got better than the RJD. But the same thing, Chandrababu Naidu is also visionary. I think that's why these kind of coalition, at least it will survive. But the problem is the other state government also, the CPM is there, the Congress party in few states, and all the time people creating confusion that you can't get job, you can't get education, you can't get health. So
No,
people
but
become
that's
a
the
very
problem. The problem is, yes, you can't get jobs. Jobs are a problem. Of course, they're a problem. We are not creating jobs as fast as we should be. And the jobs that exist, we are not creating the right people. I'm telling you, I'm struggling finding the right people, and I have plenty of jobs. I mean, you can line up and I can hire 10 people every day and still won't be enough, because we want people, but it is difficult to find people. And it is an ultimate irony, because I sit and report that people are desperate for jobs. It's the ultimate irony. So let me ask the question, Sumit Peer, in a different tangent to you. In the fiscal, financial and economic ideas presented to us by the major opposition parties, were there any ideas that are worth implementing, that a government might not agree with the political party but say, you know what, your 8,500 rupees was a good idea?
Rishabh ji, honestly, if you implement their ideas, we will be Venezuela in 3 years. That is a short way to become Venezuela. They want this country to be decimated. Look at what is the health of Himachal Pradesh today? Look at their budget. What is the health of Karnataka's finance? Look at their budget. Didn't Mr. Maan end up in Delhi asking for 3 lakh crores after he got elected as the CM of Punjab? Now, if you today everybody is asking from Prime Minister Modi, "Saab paise la." Bihar wants a special status. Lalu Yadav was making fun of Nitish Kumar yesterday. Why you didn't get a special status? Somebody told me that Chandrababu Naidu came with a laundry list of 1 lakh crores. So if you look at everybody wanting the money, where is Prime Minister Modi going to get the money? Is he going to print in a press in his house where he prints notes in the night? Well, that is not going to happen. But when you talk of reforms, they are not easy to implement. Everybody wants money. Everybody wants to go into freebies. They burden the state. And didn't Prime Minister Modi say there are some states which are becoming like sandbags to the Indian economy? You are taking your states to a level wherein they are unsustainable, then the center has to literally bail them out or take care of the people of those states. So it is not a collective system wherein everybody is talking of, how to change your economies. For example, look how UP has transformed. But if you look at some of the states, they have really gone from bad to worse. And the policies which they are continuing are going to make them bad to worse. Again, after queuing up for dal, roti, kapda, makan, they want to queue you for some different thing. 2,000 rupees yahan, 1,000 rupees yahan, 8,000 rupees yahan. They don't want people turn. They don't want people to be enabled. They want people dependent on the government. And thank God Modi ji is not adapting any of the schemes proposed by the
I need to take a break. Okay. But there is a fascination here, because reforms, ladies and gentlemen, cut both ways. You've just seen it happen in Karnataka over the course of the past week in the build-up to this budget, where the government of the day says, what is the point of growth if we are not generating employment for locals? So they say, okay, we got all these big companies and we got to tell them that a percentage of your employees have to be hired locally. It sounds perfectly reasonable. Why shouldn't it be? But then at the same time, all the companies that are setting up base there, they are saying, if you are going to dictate who we can hire and who we can't hire, which is basically a private sector quota or whatever you want to call it, then we are thinking elsewhere. You saw Mamata Banerjee do it in Shingur to the detriment of Bengalis, not to their benefit. I'm sure she regrets it many, many decades later. So you have these pulls and pushes. because these ironies exist, there is no doubt about it that India, on the face of it, all the numbers, guys, look good. Okay, there's no panic. Everything is doing stock market, record high after record high. Everything looks hunky-dory. But we have issues. We have the overwhelming weight of history. And the overwhelming weight of history is telling you that never before have so many young people been in one place at one time in the history of humanity. If you can provide them with the skills and jobs, India will not require any effort in incremental GDP growth. It will just happen by itself.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.